Yeah, thank you so much everyone for joining again. We will continue our regular reading of the Bhagavad Gita as it is. We are reading the fourth chapter entitled Transcendental Knowledge. Yesterday we discussed the 10th verse where Krishna talks about how one has to give up attachment, fear, and anger, and then he can be fully absorbed and uh, this purification comes through the knowledge of Krishna, and then that will lead to transcendental love for him. And as part of this one, but in depth, we discussed as to how attachment to material possessions and material life can become an impediment in accepting the Supreme Lord, the form of Krishna, or how fear in the form of the fear rising from the disgust of this material world where we are so done with this entire material creation that we are fearful that even after liberation, if I have to maintain my personal form, that fear also becomes an impediment in us acknowledging and generating the developing that loving relationship with Krishna. And finally how anger, when we get so perplexed with various philosophical speculations where we have no idea as to what is happening, and that leads to an anger where we say that nothing is any of these things. And so all of this, we have to get about all of this, and we have to purify ourselves by this knowledge. And that's why this chapter is entitled Transcendental Knowledge, where we learn about more about Krishna, because this knowledge will help us develop that attachment to Krishna, and then eventually that knowledge will develop into transcendental love. That's a short recap of what we discussed yesterday. Does anyone have any comments or anything that they want to add based on whatever we discussed yesterday before we go on with today's verses? All right. Pavitra, do you want to read?
Yes, Prabhu.
I can recite the Sanskrit.
Okay.
ये यथा मां प्रपद्यन्ते तां तथैव भजाम्यहम् मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते मनुष्या पार्थ सर्वशः.
Translation: As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Partha.
Prita.
Prata.
Prita
Purport.
is the name for Queen Kunti, who is the mother of Arjuna. So that's why it is called O son of Prita.
Okay. Purport. Everyone is searching for Krishna in the different aspects of his manifestations. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is partially realized in his impersonal Brahma Jyoti effulgence and as the all pervading supersoul dwelling within everything, including the particles of atoms. But Krishna is fully realized only by his pure devotees. Consequently, Krishna is the object of everyone's realization, and thus anyone and everyone is satisfied according to one's desire to have him. In the transcendental world also, Krishna reciprocates with his pure devotees in the transcendental attitude, just as the devotee wants him. One devotee may want Krishna as supreme master, another as his personal friend, another as his son, and still another as his lover. Krishna rewards all the devotees equally according to the different intensities of love for him. In the material world, the same reciprocations of feelings are there, and they are equally exchanged by the Lord with the different types of worshippers. The pure devotee, both here and in the transcendental, both associate with him in person and are able to render personal service to the Lord, and thus derive transcendental bliss in his loving service. As for those who are impersonalists and who want to commit spiritual suicide by annihilating the individual existence of the living entity, Krishna helps also by observing them into his effulgence. Such impersonalists do not agree to accept the eternal, blissful personality of the Godhead. Consequently, they cannot relish the bliss of the transcendental personal service to the Lord, having extinguished their individuality. Some of them who are not firmly situated, even in the impersonal existence, return to this material field to exhibit their dormant desires for activities. They are not admitted into the spiritual planets, but they are again given a chance to act on the material planets. For those who are fruitive workers, the Lord awards the desired results of their prescribed duties, and as Yagneshwara, and those who are yogis seeking mystic powers are awarded such powers. In other words, everyone is dependent for success upon his mercy alone, and all kinds of spiritual processes are but different degrees of success on the same path. Unless, therefore, one comes to the highest perfection of Krishna consciousness, all attempts remain imperfect, as is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam. अकामः सर्वकामो व मोक्षकाम उदारदिः तिवेर्न भक्तियोगेन यजेत पुरुषां param. Whether one is without desire, the condition of the devotees, or is desirous of all fruitive results, or is after liberation, one should, with all efforts, try to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead for complete perfection, culminating in Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, thank you so much, Pavitra. I'll try to highlight some important points from this purport. So now Krishna is telling further ahead that how, as everyone surrenders unto me, I will reward them accordingly, based on what your inclination is towards the surrender of Krishna. And then the purport highlights these various aspects of this surrender. So he says that everyone follows my path in all respects. So eventually, everyone is surrendering on to someone or the other. We have seen this time and again, and we have discussed this, that in this world, we are always surrendering on to someone. Either we are surrendering unto our boss, or we are surrendering unto our parents, or our teachers, or our friends' desires, or someone or the other. And we are eventually trying to follow someone, but this all eventually leads to following towards Krishna. So that's why that is where this purport actually ended, that how all this should culminate eventually in Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, it is an imperfect attempt. uh, and the first part of the purport talks about how various people surrender unto Krishna and how Krishna rewards them, because Krishna is not an impersonal or heartless personality who will just accept whatever you're saying, and who does who is not he is someone who's very, very personal, who wants to reciprocate with you in the way that you want him to. So that, like it said over here, that some devotees who want to have a personal relationship with Krishna, he will have that personal relationship in the transcendental abode as well as over here. And even in that, there are different kinds of relationship different devotees will have. Someone has wants to have Krishna as his personal friend, the Lord will give him an opportunity to be his personal friend. Someone wants to shower the Lord with his love as a son, he will give him as that opportunity, and so on. In the same way, there are others who feel that I do not want to have this, as we discussed in the previous verse, that there are others who feel that I do not want to have this personal form at all. I don't, after liberation, I am done with this form. For them also, Krishna gives them the opportunity of merging into his impersonal Brahman or effulgence, which allows them to be in that state. And that is also a way of him reciprocating. He's not telling anyone that you have to come to this point itself. He's reciprocating at everyone at their own pace from wherever they are. And at the same time, in addition, there may be others who will say that I do not yet want to surrender unto Krishna, but I want to continue my practices, or I want to still work in this world. Krishna, in the form of Yageshwar, is one who is awarding them their desired result based on whatever the prescribed activities that they are performing. And similarly, everything Krishna is avoiding us. And we have discussed this. So, this is a very important point that Srila Prabhupada is highlighting over here, that all these different paths, they don't realize different things, but they are helping us to realize Krishna into unto various degrees. If you remember, when we discussed the second chapter, we discussed about the Bhagavan, Paramatma, and Brahman realization of the Lord, where each of these are successively lesser and lesser personal. Like if you remember, we discussed the example of a judge or a teacher who's there in part of the courtroom versus how he is there as part of his cabinet ministers and how he is there at home. All of these are with closer and closer relationship. Similarly, based on how we want to know Krishna, Krishna gives us that opportunity. So that is what this verse is saying. uh I hope that makes sense. Does anyone have any questions or comments before we move on to the next verse? All right, moving on. Rohan, will you be able to read?
Yes, true.
Yeah, I can recite the Sanskrit. काङ्क्ष काङ्क्षन्ता कर्मणां सिद्धिं यजन्त इह देवता क्षिप्रं हि मनुष्यलोके सिद्धिर्भवति कर्मजा.
Translation. Men in this world desire success in fruitive actions, and therefore they worship the demigods. Quickly, of course, men get results from fruitive work in this world. Purport. There is a great misconception about the gods or demigods of this material world, and men of less intelligence, although passing as great scholars, take these demigods to be various forms of the Supreme Lord. Actually, the demigods are not different forms of God, but they are God's different parts and parcels. God is one, and the parts and parcels are many. The Vedas say, Nityo Nityanam. God is one. Ishvara Paramaha Krishna. The Supreme God is one, Krishna, and the demigods are delegated with powers to manage this material world. These demigods are all living entities, Nityanam, with different grades of material power. They cannot be equal to the Supreme God, Narayana, Vishnu, or Krishna. Anyone who thinks that God and the demigods are on the same level is called an atheist or pasandi. Even the great demigods like Brahma and Shiva cannot be compared to the Supreme Lord. In fact, the Lord is worshipped by demigods such as Brahma and Shiva. Yet, curiously enough, there are many human leaders who are worshipped by foolish men under the misunderstanding of anthropomorphism or zoomorphism. Iha Devata denotes a powerful man or demigod of this material world. But Narayana, Vishnu, or Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, does not belong to this world. He is above or transcendental to material creation. Even Sripada Shankaracharya, the leader of the impersonalists, maintains that Narayana or Krishna is beyond this material creation. However, foolish people worship the demigods because they want immediate results. They get the results but do not know that results so obtained are temporary and are meant for the less intelligent persons. The intelligent person is in Krishna consciousness and he has no need to worship the paltry demigods for some immediate temporary benefit. The demigods of this material world, as well as their worshippers, will vanish with the annihilation of this material world. The boons of the demigods are material and temporary. Both the material worlds and their inhabitants, including the demigods and their worshippers, are bubbles in this cosmic ocean. In this world, however, human society is mad after temporary things such as the material opulence of possessing land, family, and enjoying paraphernalia. To achieve such temporary things, people worship the demigods.
uh, I think Rohan got dropped off. uh Kaushik Prabhu, will you continue?
Yeah, sure. To achieve such temporary things, people worship the demigods or powerful men in human society. If a man gets some ministership in the government by worshipping a political leader, he considers that he has achieved a great boon. All of them are therefore kowtowing to the so-called leaders or big guns in order to achieve temporary goals, and they indeed achieve such things. Such foolish men are not interested in Krishna consciousness for the permanent solution to the hardships of material existence. They are all after sense enjoyment, and to get a little facility for sense enjoyment, they are attracted to worshipping the empowered living entities known as demigods. This verse indicates that people are rarely interested in Krishna consciousness. They are mostly interested in material enjoyment, and therefore they worship some powerful living entity.
Sure. Thank you so much, Kaushik Prabhu and Rohan, who's not there in the call right now. Uh, Let me highlight a few points from this before we end our call today. It's already 9:19. I'll quickly summarize. So now this verse talks about a further thing. Now Krishna is saying in the previous verse that I reciprocate with everyone as they approach me. Uh, but now someone may ask that then why should we even worship demigods? So now Krishna gives the answer that quickly, to get a result quickly, men get fruitive results in this world when they worship demigods. So the example that is usually given in the scriptures and by great commentators on the Bhagavad Gita, they explain that how uh, when you are suffering some kind of a ailment or illness in your body, the doctor usually gives you two types of things. One will be a painkiller or a tranquilizer to reduce your pain so that it becomes bearable. And the other thing is the actual medicine that is going to work on the root cause or to actually subside the ailment. A tranquilizer or a painkiller will work only for a short duration of time. It will help you feel better just for a limited amount of time. But the main dose that you require is the actual medicine that will cure your disease. In the same way, the demigods help by worshipping the demigods, people in general, they get the whatever opulences or whatever they desire just for this one lifetime. But Krishna doesn't. Krishna will gives you all of that in a way that helps you subside the bondage which will keep you in this cycle of birth and death in a way that is needed for you. He will ensure that. And that is the reason why Krishna may not always give you things that you want. He will give you things that you need. Another example that is usually given in this context is that if you want to have a sweet, there is one option that you go outside and you give the vendor some money. You go to, say, Target or Whole Foods, and you give him them some money, and they can give you a big box of cake. But he does not care whether you are a diabetic patient, whether that cake is actually good for you or not. But at the same time, if you go to your mother or someone that loves you or someone who cares for you and tell them that this is the money, can you just get the ingredients and make the cake? Although this may be a lengthier process because now they have to go to the market, they have to get the ingredients and bake the cake. But they will ensure that if it is not good for your health, they will not allow you to have more than a single bite of that cake, even if you want it. Or they will ensure that you do not have that cake at all if that is what your health requires. In the same way, it is not that Krishna does not love you. He loves you enough. He loves you more than anyone to ensure that you get the right things at the right time as per what you require. But what is very important in this process is that we really have that faith that He is looking out for the best in for us. That's why sometimes it may look like this process of Krishna consciousness, whatever I am doing, why am I not getting the results that I intend for? Someone may think that I have started chanting, I'm doing so many things, but why am I not getting the results that I intended to get or what I planned? Why is this not working? But it is not that it is not working. It is working definitely, but it is working in a way that is ideally meant for the best of you. So that's why he says that there are a lot of people who are just interested in this material enjoyment. They are just looking at this one lifetime. They are not looking at the bigger picture where we say that we understand that we are transcendental beings and we are going through so many lives. Krishna knows that, and he is looking at us and he is doing whatever is best for us, not just for this lifetime, but for multiple lifetimes for us. Uh, I hope that adds some more light and helps you understand this purport a little better. Uh, I will like to pause over there. I'm really sorry it's 9:23. I went a little over time. Thank you everyone for your kind attention. If anyone has any questions or any comments, please feel free to add. Or if anyone needs to drop off because if they have something else that is occupying them, please feel free to drop. Kaushik Prabhu and I will be around for another few minutes to answer any questions or any comments.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I just wanted to add one point for the last verse, which is important, actually, very important verse in Bhagavad Gita. Ye yathama prapadyante tam staiva bhajamyaham brahmavartmanu vartante manushya pata sarvasha. This is 11th verse. So this is very, very well quoted verse actually. So then the second part which says Mama Vartmanu Vartante Manushya Partha Sarvasha, it is sometimes misunderstood. So just wanted to clarify that clearly. So it says everyone follows my path in all respects. So it doesn't really mean that no matter what you do, everyone will reach God. Everyone has a particular level at which they are practicing whatever they are, and accordingly they will grow. So I think Rishipra also mentioned about different realizations of absolute truth, and whatever level one is approaching the God, approaching Lord, so accordingly Lord will reciprocate. And then at the same time we see the people are who are striving for some material goals. So how are they approaching God? So it is not that they are directly approaching God. Then how do we see them to be also following my path in some respect, all respects, basically what Krishna is saying. So it is basically the principle we have to see. So there is some attractive principle which is making that person work in that regard. Let's say someone is very much eager for money or some prestige, or maybe some big home or some kind of material opulence, or even maybe love for family, or on an extended say love for society, love for or a country, all these things. So these kind of emotions which are there, this is basically invoking some kind of attractive nature in the soul, and that is inspiring that person to work in that regard. So that attractive potency is fundamentally coming out of one's attraction for Krishna. So that same principle is there, just that it's misplaced. So in that regard, we can say that because that attractive potential is originally meant for Krishna, the same thing is misplaced in some other place. So in that regard, one is following that same essence in one regard. Of course, it's a misplaced, but it's that they are following the same essence. I hope this makes sense. Just wanted to add this because many times people get confused thinking about how is it that everyone is following the same path, or is it that everyone can follow everything and they can reach the same goal? It doesn't mean like that. For instance, if I am here and if I take, let's say, a flight to Seattle, it won't take me to Bay Area. So there is a specific goal we have in mind, and with that you take the journey and you reach that particular destination. It won't take us to somewhere else. That is the point. So that is also important. But everyone follows. So even so, like let's say you're um, so let's say you are wanting to climb the top of mountain. So you're at the one end of the corner. So there may be people who are at different regions around the base of the mountain. So they all can take different paths to reach the same goal. So in that regard, we can say there are several paths which may exist. But if someone is at somewhere in middle and that person is going down, so how do we understand that that person is going to the top of the peak? Like that's an invalid question. The thing is, though the person may be going down, ultimately the person is seeking the same essence of reaching the top of the mountain. That is what we understand. And we can understand that after many kicks through various species of life, maybe going down, up, down, ultimately he has to seek the top region. Otherwise, there is no liberation. So I hope these thoughts add little bit value to it. Just the fact is that we should understand the any verse when it come or any concept which comes, we should understand it in a broader picture also. So many people take this verse out of context and say that you can do whatever you want and you will get the best goal. It doesn't mean like that actually. Just want to clarify that. I hope this makes sense. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Kaushik Prabhu, for highlighting those important points from this verse. Actually, I was just remembering another example that is given in the same context. As you said, like everyone, depending on where we want to go, everyone is actually approaching Krishna. Like just adding on to your example, say for our example, I want to go to New York and I go to the Chicago airport and I say that just give me the cheapest flight ticket wherever it is possible. Will I reach New York? Eventually, yes. I might go from Chicago to Minnesota to some other place, and I may just go to Seattle and then probably across the world over to Japan and Korea, and I'm very bad at my geography, but you're getting my point. I may eventually go across the entire globe and then reach New York. So that is also one way that we are still reaching New York. If you ask me, where are you heading? I will every time tell my immigration officer that I want to go to New York, even if I'm standing in Japan. But that is also one way. But at the same time, there are direct flights that take you from Chicago to New York. That is what we need to understand, that all paths, even though they are leading to Krishna, some of them are going to take so long and so far away. They are not going to treat you to this exact same destination at the end of this lifetime. So that is why we try and understand this, and we understand that our ultimate goal, what our ultimate goal is, and we practice this process of Krishna consciousness. uh, does anyone have any other questions or comments? All right, then. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I hope I'll see you again next week on Monday. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Rishi Prabhu. Actually, I just thought of one quick question that I wanted to
Mhm.
ask, if that's okay. Yeah, sorry about
Yeah.
earlier. I had my internet, I think, was a little bit lagging, so I had to
Oh,
it
no
cut
worries.
mid call. Um,
No.
so I like that example that you were giving about how like everyone's ultimate goal is to reach Krishna, but the paths themselves might be different. Some might be longer, some might be more direct, etc. Is
Mhm.
as a devotee, is that path something that we can say we are in control of, or is that ultimately also Krishna's decision? The path, because he might think that that longer path is maybe necessary for someone to attain Krishna consciousness compared to someone else who he deems that the more direct path may be more suitable for him. So I'm just curious how that plays into the picture.
Hmm. Uh, so the way I understand
Mm,
Krishna, as this verse clearly says, that Krishna is telling that as everyone approaches me, through all of this approach, you definitely have that free will, or you have the liberty of choosing your path. Krishna is not enforcing you that you should take this path. Krishna
mm,
knows that eventually, anyhow you'd go, you're going to reach him. Because in the 10th chapter of in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that, like Kaushik Prabhu was saying, that we have a certain principle of attraction and certain emotions. All of these eventually come from Krishna. And that's why those are directed to Krishna through multiple levels of indirection, maybe. But
mhm.
now that is your own personal choice that you're making.
Okay.
Uh, Krishna definitely gives each one of them this opportunity. If you have that desire, you will get this opportunity. And Krishna will tell again in future verses, and not maybe not in this chapter, but in some other chapter, that someone who has this very strong desire of coming to me, I will give him the path of enlightenment. I will enlighten, and I will arrange things in such a way in his life for him to find ways where he can get this knowledge to purify
Mm,
his senses and come to me.
okay,
Krishna.
I see.
So the most important part of this, like you guys highlighted, which was a very valid question. I wish you had asked this earlier, so everyone would have benefited. But this is a very important question. I didn't highlight this. Is that we all have that free will to choose what path I want to take. Krishna is not saying that you have to take this path only or this path only, because all of them are going to lead. But you make that conscious choice, and as soon as you make that conscious choice, he says that I reward them accordingly. What Once you make that choice that, oh Krishna, I really want to come to you, give me some way or the other, he will make arrangements. You will find things just work out magically and beyond your control. Does that help with your question?
Yes, Prabhu. I think that clarifies for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.